Namaste and good day. Welcome back to another episode of Indian Born Aussie Bred with your host Aussie Masi. Today's episode is going to be really special. It is a bonus episode, and I've got a guest on this podcast for the first time, one of my friends from long time, and it's also going to be on video for the first time. So something that we're trialing out new for 2024. So hopefully you like it. Let's begin. A lot of the podcast is going to be about my parenting journey. Welcome to Indian Born Aussie Bred. Thanks for joining and thanks for taking some time out. Honestly, this is just something I do, and I started off as a hobby. This year I thought, why not? I talk to a few people. It'll be a good way to catch up, and it'll be a good way to, just add on to what I'm doing as well. So, just introducing a little bit. So, basically, the podcast is called Indian Born Aussie Bred, and this will be our first ever video episode, so it's quite special and nerve-wracking for me as well. So it's basically based around my own parenting journey, which has not been an easy journey. And then when I saw your book is released, I thought, I'm sure your journey was not easy as well. And I thought, we could connect and share the story. So if you're happy sharing, the whole reason I share is because I feel like there weren't many people who talked about harder journeys. And I didn't feel like I had the support at that time. And of course, being a migrant in a different country where you don't have your family, you don't have your parents, it was very hard. And then lockdown and everything was another story.
I'm sure.
So basically that's it. So welcome. Today is going to be all about you and your book and your journey, and then of course you can listen to my journey at another time whenever you want to. All right, so let's start. I'll keep it very, very casual. We might have to do retakes or whatever. I will edit, so don't worry about it. So, allowing me to introduce you first. We met at engineering college back in India, and you were my junior, and we've been friends for many years. So, welcome, Somdatta Chakraborty. So, we haven't seen each other for years, as you just mentioned, and I guess today is going to be a story that I haven't listened to myself, right? So, that's great because I wanted it to come out more natural. So I don't want to listen to a story beforehand. You tell the story now, and I'm excited to hear it as well.
Sure. So where do I start from? Do you want to give me a kind of
Start from maybe talking about yourself. So tell me a little bit since you last finished engineering college, what happened?
Okay. So we got placed in the same company. Like you didn't join, you went to Australia, but I joined Mindtree. And then I worked with Mindtree for a few years, and then I went back to Kolkata because even I married my engineering classmate Sandeep. So just like you
Winning
followed
for
my
love.
years. And it's very similar. Like although I joined Mindtree, and we were in a long distance relation for a couple of years, where he was working in Calcutta. He had joined ICICI Bank. Sandeep had done a postgraduate in banking, and he was working in ICICI Bank in Kolkata. So I took a decision of moving back to Kolkata. I worked with IBM for 3 years. That's when I got married to him. But then I'm a bong, you're a bong, but then there's no, there's nothing to hide here. We did not like staying in Kolkata, to be very honest,
I'm
for
with you
many
on that.
reasons.
Doesn't matter if I'm a bonk, I'm with you on that.
Yes. So we always thought that we have to move out and do something very meaningful with our life, because we could see our growth getting stagnated there a lot. And that's when we both moved to Bangalore, and I started working with Deloitte, and he followed me after a couple of months, and he joined Yes Bank. So and then we changed companies, like all the Bangaloreans too, like from Deloitte to Adobe to
Of
another
course.
startup.
Every that's
Yeah.
that's that's the vibe in Bangalore. You need to jump. Otherwise you're not a
Yes.
Bangalorean.
And we get FOMO. Okay, I'm in this company for more than 3 years. What's wrong with me? So yes, I kept changing companies, and then I was working with Adobe, in 2018, and we were already married for 6, 7 years, and we thought, yeah, let's extend our family, let's have a baby, and so on. So we got Snowy, first, because we thought, let's have a puppy and let's see how it feels, whether we are responsible enough to take care of a child, because we
Yes.
both of us, we don't adhere to the social pressure of you have to have a child. We were okay to not have a child, if we thought that we are not up to it. But once Snowy came to our life, we saw that nurturing nature and the softer nature, the motherly nature, and everything coming out automatically. And then we thought that why not have a human baby who can reply to us, because Snowy can understand everything, but she cannot
She
talk
can't
back.
reply.
Yeah, and she'll always be a baby. She'll not grow up much. Like dogs, once they grow up, they stagnate. The
Yeah.
growth, they remain more or less the same from
Yeah.
1 year till they live. So that's when we thought, okay, let's try to have a baby naturally. And in 2018, we were expecting, actually.
Oh, wow.
So I had
Okay.
done, yes.
And was that, can
So
I just ask, was that after like a surprise, or was that like an
it was
expected or
planned.
easy? Okay.
It was planned and it was easy because we started planning in January. So there'll be a New Year resolution that this year we have to be parents, and let's
Of
plan. Let's
course.
go to a doctor. So we visited the doctor, and she gave us this the pills. I forgot, it's some vitamins, right, that you need to have. You know, sorry, I forgot the name. But then she gave us some preconceiving measures, wherein we took all of that, and we took rubella vaccine. So it was all planned.
Yeah.
And then in February-ish, the news was positive. We were very happy and everything was fine. But then, and everything was fine. So I had my first month scan as well, and the
Oh,
baby's heartbeat
perfect.
was there. So there was a second scan in like another month, and it was a very normal day. There was no pain, there was no bleeding. I had this luchi torkari. It was a weekend, and the Bengali
So this
household,
is
and then I
first
went to
trimester. First trimester still
first.
going on.
I'm at the second month. Yes.
Second
So
month.
the
Okay.
first, yes, yes. So I was entering my third month. So the second month, the baby's heartbeat was already there, and then it was a second month scan, and then I was very happy. And then we went there, and then the doctor, when during the scanning, the doctor had a very different kind of expression on his face. And he said that, how far are you in your journey? And then he kept reading my thing, my reports. And he said the heartbeat was already there. How am I not able to get these, get the heartbeat? And then he did a couple of more runs of scans, and then he said that, I'm sorry, I cannot find the heartbeat.
Okay.
So, and then I went to the doctor, and then she prescribed a couple of more scans to be sure that the
Did
heartbeat
you do
indeed is not
ultrasound
there.
at that point? Was that the ultrasound?
Yes,
Okay. So they could see the
yes,
baby.
yes. So there are, again, I forget the medical terms, but there is a kind of ultrasound that they'll do on your stomach, that's on top. But
Yes,
then if
yes.
they do not find the
That is just
heartbeat
the
or something,
heartbeat. That is just the
they would
heartbeat, and then the ultrasound is the one where you can see it.
yes, yes. So they said that yes, the fetus is there, but there is a fetal demise. You have lost your baby a week back, and
So
I didn't
sorry. Oh
realize
my
that.
God.
Yes, and I'm like, no, I don't believe this, because this is not a miscarriage. I don't feel a
Yeah.
pain. I don't feel any bleeding. I don't even feel like throwing up.
Oh
I don't
God.
feel sick. I'm so normal. And that the doctor was, when I had conceived and I had gone, the doctor said, you can drive, you can do everything. You are completely healthy. So I was driving to my office. I was taking calls. I'm perfectly healthy. I was in denial. So the doctor
Yeah.
said, see, you cannot, we have to surgically do a DNC, and we have to bring the fetus out of you, because the
Yeah.
fetus is not going to grow. The fetus is already gone,
Yeah.
and you have to accept it. But because we have to do a DNC and we have to do the surgery on you, you have to sign a bond and you have to be ready. You cannot say, no, I don't want to let go of my baby. You have to
Yeah.
be
Of
ready.
course. Yeah. Oh my
So,
God.
yes, so
I'm
that
getting
was kind.
goosebumps.
Yes. So, because it was so unexpected, I mean,
It is, of
it's
course.
giving. So, and then I'm like, okay, I mean, why is this happening and everything? And then the doctor kept telling me, don't worry, it happens to 30% women in their first pregnancy. Second time you conceive, everything will be fine. And I don't know, I might be a emotional fool or something, but I was like, but what's with this baby? I mean, how can you just forget a life gone so
Yeah.
soon
Yeah.
and ask me to move on, and the baby is still in me even if the baby has passed? the,
Yes.
the life, the
Yes.
existence is still within me, and you're telling
Yes.
that it's okay, you will move on. And in second pregnancy, people have faced it 3 4 times. I don't know, maybe this, that got me scared, that people face it 3 4 times. How can they, you know how can they face grief? It was not the physical pain, it's the grief. How can you face
Yes.
loss and grief so many times and still go into
Have
it,
the courage. Yeah.
knowing that this also might end in this way?
Yeah.
So I kind of had a very big psychological trauma. uh, Maybe many women go through this, and after I shared this with many other women in my organization, yeah, it happened with me. It happens all the time. It happened with all my
Same.
relatives.
Same. I've also felt the same. So, yeah. Go on.
Yeah.
Once you share your
So
story, you realize miscarriage is so common that it's not even talked about.
yes. uh, but then I was feeling that, but then why am I feeling this grief so much? Why am I feeling that this might happen again? Every human being is wired and tuned in a different way, right? I mean, you cannot, like, you might face grief in a different way. I will handle it in a different way. So I'm like, okay, but I need time. I cannot just, it's not like a very kind of, it's an operation baby and then you do it and then you do it again. I cannot, it's, for me, it's a very emotional thing, and I cannot, just um, start planning for a baby immediately after I lose one
Yeah.
like this. I wasn't ready. So the doctor said, okay, give yourself 6 months or so. So I gave myself 6 months and everything. And then during the 6 months, I kept thinking about loss and grief. Um,
Of course.
and then, I was like, if the baby was only 2 months as a fetus, and I'm feeling so much grief. And imagine there are parents losing their children after being born, right?
Yes.
And then there's so many things that people face, and this is nothing. And I started thinking about it. And then I thought the other way around, that okay, at least I have lost a baby, I'm an adult, I can cope with the grief. Imagine children who lose their parents, children who are born, and then they just don't, I mean, even in the womb, the children realize the presence of their parents. And when they are
Yes.
born and then they do not have any parents around for whatever reason, imagine the kind of trauma they would go through. And I started reading a lot about children getting abandoned, or losing their
Wow.
parents, and about adoption and a lot of things. And I was keeping this adoption in my mind, very, very open, because in my back of my mind, I was thinking, this has happened once, it can happen again. And if I want a baby, I want a baby. It doesn't matter whether how I get the baby. Of
Hmm.
course, I would not go to a wrong path and get the baby
Hmm.
illegally, but as long as the means are clear and the intentions are clear, let me see what are the different avenues. So then I started seeing, and then kind of my eyes opened about adoption, because we always see adoption as we are doing a favor to the child. Like, even I was thinking like that.
Hmm.
Imagine the child has lost a
Hmm.
parent,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I would say I'll be the savior. But it
Hmm.
is completely different. When you adopt, the child is the parent's savior. I'll come to that later on.
That's such
It's
a
not the
lovely
other
way
way
to
around.
look at it. Yeah.
We are not saving a child. We are not doing any favor to them. We are doing a great favor by fulfilling our life's desire. That's
Hmm.
what I realize in the way. But yeah, that's how I started thinking about adoption. And then what I read is, in India there is only one legal way to adopt, and that is through
Hmm.
CARA,
Yeah.
Central Adoption Resource Authority. That's where you have, it's a government regulated board. So long time back, people would just walk into a Mother Teresa's home, Missionaries of Charity, and say that, okay, I want to be a parent, give me a child who's an orphan, and they would be given a child. Uh, with due diligence, of course, they'll check the parents' credentials, but there had been a lot of child trafficking happening
Hmm.
in that way.
Hmm.
Somebody will
Yeah.
get a child and sell the child and so on. So, since the last 5 or 6 years, the government has stepped in and has created a process wherein, it's a central authority which governs adoption in all the states. So there is SARA, State Adoption Resource Authority, which is
Okay.
in each state will have a SARA, and all the
Mm-hmm.
SARAs would report to CARA, which is the Central Adoption Resource
Okay. So it's more organized
Authority.
now in terms of the steps.
Right. And once you apply, it's an online portal. So once you apply, uh, people means, the CARA employees would do the due diligence, would check your background. There is a home study that is done. Then they will check your medical reports so that you do not have a terminal disease, and
Yeah.
intention why you want to adopt. So there's a 7 pages of question paper
Wow.
which
You
you have to
literally had to
fill.
write a thesis of why you want a baby.
Yes, why you want a baby through adoption.
Through
What if you
adoption.
have, and as we were in our fertile age,
Yeah.
what if you have a natural born, a biological child later?
Hmm.
How would you, like, at that time you cannot tell, okay,
Hmm.
now I don't want that
Of
baby. You
course.
cannot
Yeah.
say that. So,
Hmm.
and then what happens, if both of you, something happens to both of you,
Hmm.
who's the next to kin of
Yeah.
this child,
Yeah.
and how would you disclose the biological fruits of this child? Will you hide or will you disclose? How will you disclose? How will you educate the society? How will you tell your parents? Are your parents willing? So there is, I can, the list goes on. So
Of course. And being in
yeah.
Indian society, they want to cover all the bases and more.
Yes. If there is a bias, and about even complexion. So, when you're given a child, you cannot choose a child. So, what if your child's complexion is darker than you? Will
Hmm.
your family, take it in positive way? If not,
Hmm.
how will you, uh, address that? So, there are so many questions that were there. And once that is done, and they'll send, so the Kara appoint, all these Saras report to Kara, right? And then underneath this Sara, there are all these children homes and orphanages. So, for example, in Bangalore Sara takes care of all these orphanages and children's home. They report unto the
And
Sara.
you were at
So,
Bangalore at this point of time when you were
I
applying for
was,
adoption.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So 2019, actually, we applied, and we thought, okay, maybe if we naturally conceive, we conceive, but if not, let us keep these paths open.
Hmm.
And why we did it so early, like immediately, because the wait time is long. You have to
Yeah,
wait
that was
three to
my
four
going to be my
years
question. How long is the wait time? Because I've heard it's about 5 years or something.
Yes, it's 4 years almost. Now
Okay.
it's almost 4.5 years. And due to
Hmm.
the pandemic, it has increased. It used to be two
Hmm.
years, and then due to
Hmm.
the pandemic, the process got slow, and then it takes 4.5 years now. So we said, okay, let us just apply. So the Sarah had sent a local. We have to choose a local, a children's home who would
Hmm.
come. The social worker would come, would see our house, would
Hmm. If
scrutinize
it's
all
safe
our
for
Form
the child.
16.
Hmm.
Exactly, and scrutinize the Form 16s and our original documents, and if we are genuine. So they
Yeah,
would
of
come
course.
home, do all these checks, and then they would upload a report from their side onto the system. So we first, as parents, prospective adoptive parents, we upload our documents, and then the social worker comes to our place, and
Hmm.
he or she does this due diligence, and
Hmm.
then they upload their documents, their study on the system,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
then you are put on the queue. You become a prospective adoptive parent, and you're
Okay.
on a queue. And the rules keep changing year by year. When we had applied, we could choose the states from which we want the child from. So we had
Hmm.
chosen all India in the beginning. Then we
Hmm.
thought, okay, if we get a little, a bigger child, like, okay. Another thing is we have to also choose the age group. 0 to 2 years is an age group, and then 2 to 4, 4 to 6. And it's not only parents choosing the age group, it's also the eligibility.
Mm.
So if the sum of both, if as a couple, if we are adopting, sum of our age shouldn't be more than 85
Okay,
to
sum
be
of your
eligible
age.
for.
Okay.
Sum of our
Mm.
age shouldn't be more than 85
So
to be
preferably under
eligible for
40.
us. Yes,
Hmm.
for a 0 to 2 years
Hmm.
child.
Hmm.
If you are a little bit older parent, then you are eligible for 2 to 4. Some
Hmm.
parents voluntarily choose for a bigger child, elder
Hmm.
child, but some have to need to choose this particular age because of the eligibility.
Okay.
So, and then you can choose the state. So we thought, okay, 0 to 2 years means there's no guarantee we'll get a very small baby in a cradle. We might also get a child who's a year or year and a half,
Hmm.
and then the child would already start speaking a particular language. So
Hmm.
it's better we choose West Bengal and Assam because we are from that part of
Hmm.
India,
Hmm.
and we will be able to bond with the child. So that's how we took the decision of choosing those states.
Okay.
And then we were waiting, and then pandemic came, and then somehow the wait was so long, we thought okay, and then we were not able to conceive naturally as well. We thought okay, let's again visit the doctor and see that if, let us wait, but then let's also see if biologically we can conceive. And that's when we also realized that there were some issues. It was not that it was impossible for us to conceive, um, but then there were some parameters which were little here and there for us, which was making it little difficult for us. So the doctor said you can go for IUI or you can go for IVF. Said okay, let's give IUI a shot. So we tried IUI, and then it didn't happen.
So were they already
And
putting you onto the infertility pathway? Like were there such major problems that you had identified that would
um,
prevent you from getting pregnant naturally because you had gotten pregnant naturally?
yes, yes. That's because there is again, I forgot the name. There is the egg quality is was low. There is a particular hormone. I have to
Estrogen.
yeah, search. Um,
Estrogen.
not really. Not really. There's I'll tell you if I remember. So there was
Yeah,
a
sure.
particular hormone which was less, which means
Okay.
the number of eggs that were getting produced was depleting.
Uh,
And it can be also because of stress, and after the pandemic this was a very common
AMH?
thing.
Do you mean
AMH,
about
yes,
AMH?
yes,
Yeah, so that's
yes,
the
yes,
egg
yes,
reserve. That's called the egg reserve.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay, so your
yes,
egg
yes,
reserve was
that's right.
low. Yeah, okay.
Yes, yes. So AMH was I think a point below 1. My AMH was
Oh,
point
okay.
4,
Right.
point
And
4
generally,
something.
what did they
It
look at a healthy
should be
one?
more than 1. It should be
Hmm.
at least more than 1 for my age, because I was around 34, 35ish.
Okay.
So in yeah, for my age, the AMH should be at least more than 1.
Hmm.
So if it's less than 1, it's not impossible to conceive,
Hmm.
but then the chances are less.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's better to go for IUI. And then they said that if the today it's point 0.4, and it depletes in a exponential way. So in 6 months, if you come and you say I want an IUI, your chances are even less, because then your image
After
becomes point
35, it
0.2.
is high. Yes.
It even depletes furthermore. So we tried IUI, but then it was it was very painful for me. I mean, even I did not even go for IVF, but even for IUI, I had to take a lot of injections, and
Hmm.
every day the doctor would scan and would see the egg growth, and I was feeling violated. I mean, to be honest, many women go through
Tell me
that, and
about
I have
it.
a lot of
That's my
respect for
story.
them. I have a lot of respect for them, but I was feeling violated. I'm like, okay,
Uh,
and then like, no, no, your egg is not growing enough. I need to give you another shot tomorrow. So, 2 more injections, and then it was only half a month. But then they also after the treatment they would give a
yeah.
progesterone
Yeah.
tablet to insert
Progesterone.
to your
Yes. Yeah.
vagina.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Luteal phase for the luteal phase.
Yes, I didn't enjoy it at all. I was like, okay, please make me pregnant in the first try. I don't want to go through this again. And then it didn't happen. And when it didn't happen, I mean, I think I very
It's
broken
very
down, because
emotionally draining. It's very emotionally draining.
yes, because and then you are already educated with the human anatomy so much, because you're seeing your womb, in the computer screen, and the doctor is like, this egg should be this many millimeters. And then I'm like, even after so much was, and I think the stress was, causing a lot of this negative emotions in me, which was not helping me at all. So I'm like, okay. And then doctor said, you can try as many IUIs, but because your AMH is below 1, I would prefer you to go for, IVF.
Okay.
And this is what you have to do. And before that, we need to do a dry run first. And the doctor started explaining the process. I'm like, okay, whatever I have faced in IUI, it's like 10 times of that.
Correct.
Because,
IUI is nothing.
yes,
It's just scraping the surface.
it's nothing. So I'm like, okay, so
And how
then I
many
came
rounds of
back and
IUI did you do?
I just did one.
Yeah.
I am not physically very, strong, I would say, to take up these things. Yes. I'm so I'm like, okay. And after one, I could do some more IUIs, but the doctor said, there is only 10% chance that you will
There
get
isn't
pregnant. I'm like,
very high stats on the success of IUI.
yes. So, IVF. I said, okay, and then, but don't delay too much, and then we would do this and that. And she started explaining the process,
It's
and you
very
have to get
invasive.
admitted for half a day. And then I said, okay, only half a day. No, no, see, half a day we would do a dry run, and we would see if things are fine. And then another day, which would be the actual, implantation. And then there is a 30% chance that you would get pregnant. Like, no, I cannot do that. I mean, and then the thing is also because I was like, maybe because I had already in the path of adoption, that path was already going, I was coming down in that queue, right? My numbers were decreasing, and I was going very closer, to the babies. And I was a part of WhatsApp group, and people were getting their babies, they were showing their photographs, and they
Oh,
were,
is that
asking
something
questions.
that Sarah and Kara will do? Like put you in touch with the WhatsApp group and
No,
everything?
they won't. But then, once you have kind of applied, you would want to do some Google search, right? And then AI knows what you're searching for. And on the social media, you would get some prompts for, this is the group for you, you would get, right, when you are doing certain searches. And then I got to know about a group called for and off heart babies.
Okay.
Yeah, for and off heart babies, because it came as a suggestion. And I joined, and I said I'm a prospective parent. So, and once I joined, there were several people commenting, and there were so many people out there. And there were, within that Facebook group, people were asking specific questions about 2019 packs. When are people who applied in 2019 would get their children? Who applied in 2017 would get their children? Something like that. So that's when the specific WhatsApp groups formed, because different parents at different
Year.
stages, had a kind of a like-minded discussions. So because I had applied in 2019, I said, yeah, I'm also part, 2019 PAP, and then one of the admins put me there. So that's how I, got in there. And people who had applied earlier than me, they were getting their children, and I was like, okay. And then I was feeling the joy, and I was saying it's the same. I mean, they're feeling that same joy, and they were also feeling that same agony and depression as well. I will come to those postpartum things as well. So they were discussing a lot of things, and I'm like, okay, I mean, this is also an option. So, and I visited another doctor who was not a fertility specialist, so I just went, and I asked that, okay, I just want to ensure that my health is fine, and I do not have any severe disease, because I'm going to welcome a child, and I also need a cervical cancer vaccination. So I
Sure.
went for that. So I took all of that, and I consulted, and then she said, you are still in that age, you are having your periods naturally, and you both are healthy. So maybe it's the stress, it's the pandemic, and many people are facing infertility after the pandemic vaccinations. We can't put a finger on it, but try naturally. But then, whatever God gives you first, just believe that that was always the plan of the universe. I said, yeah, sounds good. So yeah, and then last year in 2023 Jan 4th, we got our daughter's referral. And then that's when we are like, okay, she has come to us, and she's our child.
So this is
And
what
then
just
the whole
comes as a letter. Like, what did you get notified as a letter that you're
um,
now appointed a child?
no, you don't get a letter. You get emails. You
Okay.
get an email. You get an SMS, and on the portal where you have applied, where you keep seeing where is my number, where am I in the
Mm.
queue. So
Oh,
Kara has a
okay.
portal. You can always see what's your waiting
Right.
period, what's your number,
Hmm.
and there
Hmm.
are also immediate placements in special needs children. Like we were not strong enough to take care of a special needs child, but if
Hmm.
parents are equipped and they're mentally strong enough to bring up a special needs child,
Yeah.
they get the children faster because they're on immediate placement,
Yeah.
right?
Because
So
there
you
are very
can,
few people who are wanting to, yeah,
yes,
take home a child like that. Yeah.
yes, yes, and you as a parent, you need to be really strong and prepared, to take care of the needs, meet the needs of the special needs children. But in the portal, you can see that, these are the list of essential. It's heartbreaking though, because if you go through the SN list and you download, you can't just see that. So for us, it was like we went through the SN list, but then we were not able to,
Nah, nah, it's not for
see that.
everybody, and it's so. So you finally got, and but you got appointed the child, and
Yeah.
you didn't have a
Yes,
choice. You don't get a choice to
you
choose a
you
gender
you
or anything.
no. You can choose a gender when you apply. When you
Okay.
apply, you can choose either a girl or a boy, or anything is fine. For us, it was any gender. Uh,
And but
yes,
0 to 2, we wanted a younger child.
0 to 2.
You wanted a
Yes.
younger child.
So we,
Oh,
we wanted to
perfect.
see all the milestones. We did not want to miss the milestones, so that was
Yes.
the
So
intention.
how old?
And
So how
my
old was
daughter
she
was
when you got?
11 months. She was 11
Okay.
months old. She
Right.
was 11 months old. And yes, and you do have a choice of not accepting on valid grounds. So once they refer the child, it's not only a picture, they also send CSR and MER, which
Mm.
is a child study report and medical examination report.
Mm.
So child study report would tell about, how the child was found, not exactly the biological roots. Like they will not tell that the child was
Mm.
born from this and this. No, not that.
Mm.
But then, this child was rescued, or this child was being abandoned, and this was child was found on so and so date, and she was
Mm.
admitted in this hospital. She went through these treatments, and the cognitive, the, the responses the child has. The child is responding, to the rattles. The child is
Mm. Mm.
smiling at the caregivers.
Mm.
So all of these are given as a child study report, and medical examination report has a blood study, the complete
Okay.
blood work, and whether the child has HIV, or any
Yeah.
congenital
Also
heart
for
disease,
any.
anything,
Mm.
everything,
Also for
hearing
hospitalization, you
test.
will need it later, right? Yeah. To
Yes.
match bloods and
So,
stuff.
yes. So you have to take that MER and go to a doctor and ensure that everything is fine and the
Mm.
child is healthy for, for, and but then sometimes you have to take a leap of faith. Like for our child, they did not do a hearing test, Pera.
Mm.
So they did not do that, and the doctor was insisting. I'm like, okay, forget it. I'm already in love with this child. I'm going to take her no matter what. We'll see.
Oh
Jo
my
hoga
god.
dekha jayega. We'll see what happens later. Yeah, because like as a biological parent, when you have seen your child for the first time, have you thought whether she is able to hear, whether you are just in love with the child, and it's so unconditional, it just flows. So
Yeah, you didn't
it's
go
the
through, but there is actually a test around the second
hmm,
trimester, even as a natural parent, where
hmm, hmm,
they
hmm.
where they check for any
Genetic
neurological
anomalies.
devices.
Yes.
Yes, and I remember we didn't do that for the same reason because it was a very hard journey for us to get pregnant. Then I'm like, what's the
Hmm, hmm,
point? I'm like, what are we going to do if we did find out that there is an issue?
hmm.
Like, are we willing to go down another path? Let's not do the test. Let's not find out.
Yes, yes. So like we
Very
are not
true.
going to find out anything. We'll just go to Kolkata, and yeah. So she was referred from
She was
Kolkata.
from
So
Kolkata. Perfect. What
yes,
a winning story. My God. Like, I don't
yes.
know if I would actually go down that many steps and that many years pursuing it. Hats off to you, Som. Like, it would have taken, like, I don't know, a heart of steel to keep going. You're doing fertility treatments, you're still being hopeful here while you're losing hope on one side. It's like a battle of
Yes,
heart and mind.
yes, because the more I read about adoption, it felt like it's just another way of becoming a parent. There is no charity or noble cause involved in that. You're not doing any favor. As a biological parent, I don't know if you agree, but then I think it's a very, very selfish act of parents to bring a child on this earth, right? It's, only to be parent, only
It's
to
for you.
nurture.
Yes.
We are bringing a child. The child hasn't asked for it. It's the
Yeah.
same for adoption. The child hasn't asked for, me,
Yeah.
right? She would have find her way. I am not doing I haven't done any favor. So it's the same thing. So I'm getting goosebumps. But then yeah, when I talk about adoption, the first thing, oh, you have done a great noble work, you have done a big
Yeah.
charity, and no, it's not.
It's not. Yes. Correct. So let me come back to your first point that you were talking about. You wanted to talk about it later, how child was a gift to you rather than you adopting the child as a gift for the child.
Yes, so because before you become a mother, you just don't know there are so many wires, or in your brain or in your heart that exist, so many emotions that exist,
Hmm.
and that kind of opens up only when the child comes. You just cannot explain it to somebody, even when the I, you know. When you even if when you're planning for a child, you think so many things. I'll do this, I'll do that,
Hmm.
but when the child comes to you, you are like, okay, what have I become? You change as a person. You
Absolutely.
know, you become a different human being.
Hmm.
So it's the same thing. It happened, with us. When Riddhi came home, I became a different person altogether. You
Of
know,
course.
uh,
And you don't
and
even you
then
don't prepare for those emotions. You don't know what change is going to come. But it's a change that just happens and just instincts kick
yes.
in.
Yes, yes. And she was a relatively older child, because many of my friends have gotten children who are little, younger, like five,
Hmm.
6 months, who were still on the bed and couldn't move. But my daughter could crawl. And then,
Hmm.
trust me, I was not the first few weeks after we got our child. The first few weeks were like, what have I done? Why did I become a mother? Is it the correct decision that I have taken? I
That
have
is a
ruined my
postpartum
life.
phase. That is called postpartum
Yes.
anxiety and depression.
Yes, yes, yes. But I don't know if it's because I have not become a biological mother. I haven't seen children so small, so close in my life. I don't know if all children are like that. You can tell that better. But then whenever she could understand my emotions so well, like I was doing everything, but I had that, I was crying inside, and sometimes I was actually literally crying, but I was still giving the feeding bottle to her. And then all of a sudden, and because she was 11-month old and she could express her emotions, she would come and hug me. She would come and give me a peck, and she would slobber on my cheek. And then I'm like, okay, I mean, and I changed as a person. So that's how she's a gift. Like slowly, I can't express in words, but
Yeah.
slowly, I completely
You just melted.
metamorphosized into yes,
You just
to
melted at
someone
every
else,
point. Yes.
yeah, to a different person, to someone else, and become more tolerant and more understanding of other people's needs and their problems, and became more patient. So yeah, so because she gave so much, although I got so angry, so mad at her, initially, when she used to wake me up at night, because she was still on the night feed, and at 3 o'clock in the night she would start wailing, and I have to prepare the milk bottle, and then after that she would still cry, and then the diapers would be wet, and I could not understand what's going on. And sometimes I would say that, what have I done? And then she would just come and she will sleep on you, like like a cat who would want to sleep on your chest. Then and then a barrage of emotions would come out, and you would feel like, okay, I mean, God forgive me, just I couldn't, I'm not able to gauge the blessing that I still have. So
Yeah.
I'm feeling very overwhelmed, but give me
Yeah.
time, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
So yes, and then I thought, yeah, but then I know the time is short, so I'll come to this quickly. These are the similarities between an adoptive mother and a biological mother, because I discussed this with many biological parents, whether they felt sad and whether they felt that life is wasted changing diapers, and they felt the same way.
Yeah, I have actually
But
realized through having two under two and going through
hmm,
this back to back and pandemic and everything, I think the way I have pinpointed all of these emotions to is sleeplessness. From
yes,
emotions to your mental health to what they call anxiety and depression and postpartum and hatred towards your child, everything. the mixed emotion,
Hmm.
I realized, I think I had lost my brain cells at one point. I used to tell my husband, I'm like, I can't remember, I can't think.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
can't think, I can't sometimes remember what you've told me a minute ago. And I was a
Hmm.
person
Hmm.
who could remember phone numbers from 15 years ago. And I am like, I have changed, but I don't know what this change is, because I really, my brain is not functioning. And I realized it was sleeplessness, like after years and years. And I think when I've slowly recovered over last year, I've realized, oh, okay, I still have my brain because I can sleep. And the sleepless comes
Hmm.
because you have a younger child. As you said, you're just waking up
Yes.
and functioning, and you can't sleep during the night, and then you can't sleep during the day because you got to do
Yes.
adult duties.
Yes. And slowly my daughter was entering into the toddler phase so fast. Like I did not get a chance to see a baby lying down on the bed. The baby is crawling, the baby is putting things in the mouth. I mean, I have to be awake all the time and just watch and be
I
alert.
know,
And
I know,
a
I know.
minute I look into my phone, she has put something in the mouth.
That's a
So
whole
yeah,
different story. So can I just
yes,
quickly ask, so with the
but yeah.
adoption, how was the society or the family around you,
Hmm.
and how did they react, or did you have to convince them, or they were on board?
Yeah, yeah, I was actually coming to that. Family was perfectly fine. Like, in fact, the next to kin who had to take care of them, like who had to sign the undertaking that if anything happens to us, that she will take care of our child, was my sister-in-law. So my in-laws were completely on board. So there was no problem with that. So my mother was on board. Uh, Society was on board. The in-laws were on board, but society, it's a very different kind of a like I didn't expect that society would be so worried about adoption than the family. No setback from the family. In fact, the day my daughter came home, the entire family from my in-laws side had a video call welcoming her. My mother-in-law had personally gone to sign the witness and everything. So but then your neighbors would ask you questions that why didn't you have your own, she looks like you. Is she a surrogate? So, yeah. So, about society, the first day I took my daughter to the park. And that's again part of my book. Some of these are also part of my book, which we'll talk later. So, everybody started asking, okay, how come all of a sudden, a child comes and that to a year old? Because first month I didn't take her out. She was recovering from chest congestion. uh, okay, well, are you new in this apartment? No, no, I've been staying here. And, she joined us a month back and we have adopted her. Oh, you've adopted? She does not look adopted. That
That's a
was the first thing they
compliment.
said.
I believe that was a
I'm like,
compliment.
yeah, supposed to be, but it's very hurtful for the child. I
Yes.
mean, because it's your child, right? The child is already your child. And I said,
Hmm.
no, but what do you mean by that? Oh, see, look at her face. She looks like she's from a good family. I said, yeah, she is from our family. But then, but originally she'll be from a good family. No, look at her face. Like, okay, I mean, how do you classify children, for like this? I mean, when you look at a child, do you think which family? We don't think that way, right? Like, I've never thought that way. I look and say, oh, she's so cute, or, why is the child cranky? We think in this way.
Yeah.
It doesn't cross my mind about which family and the parentage, the
The
lineage
lineage.
and pedagogy and all of that, right? So I'm like, okay, but then I take it as a compliment. I don't say anything. And then there will be questions on, and then, once you hear, these kind of things, and the child is already a year old, the child is catching your emotions because maybe that person in front is telling it very casually, but your face is changing.
Yes, yes.
And
And the children will understand every small twitch in your voice, in your emotion. Oh, it's scary to a point. I remember with the first one that we were parenting, because, I think it's a journey for you as much as it is for the child. It is scary the amount of emotions that we had to cover, so just so that they don't feel
yes, yes. And then, thought that, okay, I'll not tell upfront that she is adopted to everybody, unless, they specifically ask, but I cannot hide also. There was a lot of dilemma, that, what is the right thing to do. And all our adoption counselors have told that Adults who have been adoptees have coped up better in life if they had known that they were adopted. So they have done a study of
Okay.
adult adoptees, and in that sample they have seen that adoptees, at their childhood, if they had known when
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
adults who knew that they were
Hmm.
adopted,
Hmm.
they coped up better in
So
life.
if you tell the truth, you don't hide anything, it's always an
Yes,
easier for them to digest.
because it's the right of the child. It's the
Yes.
child's right to know where he or she has come from,
Hmm.
and they feel deceived. They feel that they've been cheated.
Hmm.
If at 18 years you tell that you are adopted,
Hmm.
because they have had a different story in their mind.
Of
And all
course.
children would ask that, where have I come from? You would be
Hmm.
lying, and they
Hmm.
would know that the parents have lied.
Hmm.
You should tell child appropriate stories. Of course, you should not say something harsh, but you should never hide
Hmm.
that the child is not has not come from your womb. So that's why we call them heart babies, because we say that you are in our heart, you are a wish in our heart, which has come true. So you are born from mama's and papa's heart, not from our tummy, but you are a heart baby.
That's such
So
a
they are.
beautiful, it's the first time I'm hearing heart babies. Such a beautiful way to describe
Yes.
that.
Yes, because you were a wish in our heart which has come true, and you are
Yeah.
always there.
Amazing.
And you do have a birth mummy, you do have a tummy mummy who has taken all the pain to give you
Hmm.
birth, and there should not be any resentment against the
Hmm.
birth parents as well.
Hmm.
Because being a biological parent, you know how much pain, or the
Yeah,
parents
the
go
mother
through.
also has to bear. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's about it. Like, you have to strike a balance on how much you're going to tell the society and how much not. Because in front of your child, if you keep lying, people will ask about in India. People will ask about breastfeeding as well.
Hmm.
Okay, that are you breastfeeding her? And there are people who knew that she's adopted also asked, did her mother breastfeed her,
Hmm.
biological mother? We
Hmm.
don't know. Like, you don't get to know. And of course, if the mother had the opportunity to breastfeed and nurse her, she wouldn't have taken this harsh decision, a tough
Hmm.
decision
Hmm.
to give her away. It's a big
Hmm.
deal. Like, she
Hmm.
would have gone through so much trauma herself. So
Yeah.
please show some respect towards her.
Hmm.
And we thank the birth parents every day that no matter whatever your circumstances were, be sure that your child is safe with us, and she's our child now, and we will be forever grateful to you for showing her the light
Hmm.
of the earth. So
Hmm.
yes.
Great. Very, very strong story about from you, Som. So thank you for sharing. I love listening to it. It was just, I was just imagining every step as you were explaining it, as you take her to the park and everything. So let's talk about your book, because a lot of this is what you've written in your book. So, firstly, how did writing a book amongst all the parenting duties come to your mind? Like, how do you even have the time and mind space to get into that?
Yes, so time was after the baby slept. So it was after 9 p.m. Only then, I could. And it is a short book. It is only 8,000 words. So I didn't have to, spend too much time. I wrote it within 3 months, actually, like from writing to publishing. It was just 3 months.
Wow,
So, and I
amazing.
was also, but I was also working with a book coach. So I'm
Okay.
working with there's a lady called Shweta Samota. She herself is an author and she's a book coach.
Oh,
She has
okay.
her classes and she guides on how to self-publish, how to, write faster, how to write from your right brain and edit from your left brain. So there are a lot of things.
Wow.
So yes,
Hmm.
so I would suggest for people who want to write something and they are finding a writer's block, and they have some kind of fear on how I publish, how I market, and how much it will cost. It does not cost anything at all actually to publish, because the technology have gone so far.
So you did a
So
self-publishing,
I
because nowadays there's a traditional publishing is what it used to be. A lot of people now do self-publishing.
I have done self publishing on Amazon. I have a
Hmm.
KDP account
Hmm.
wherein I have done right now the ebook is out, and the paperback is also out. Like, it is out from my side, but it's still under review, and it will be available all over the world from
But you
in
have to get
Amazon.com.
printers and stuff. Do you have to strike a
So
deal
it
with the
is
printers?
no. So Amazon does it all.
Oh, okay.
For ebook, first of all, so when you go to your KDP account, Kindle Direct Publishing,
Mm-hmm.
and you can, the ebook is pretty simple, you can just
Yeah,
go
of
step
course, I
by
can
step and
understand.
do it.
Yeah.
For the paperback, you have to do the formatting, and
Mm-hmm.
then once you do the formatting, you have to design the book cover, and then
Mm-hmm.
you just upload that, and then Amazon does a print on demand.
Mm-hmm.
So if you order tomorrow when the book is live, I'll let you know. And when you place your order on Amazon.com, and they're available in Australia, they would, print on demand because somebody has purchased it and will send that, fulfill that order in that way. In
Okay.
India, Amazon does not have the printing facilities. So there is another provider called Pothi.com. I, worked with them, and they are doing the similar thing that Amazon is doing worldwide, print on
Mm.
demand. As soon as somebody, places an order, they would, kind of distribute it, and they are tied to Amazon. So once
Okay.
my paperback is taking a while to be out in India, but once it's out in India, it will be available in Amazon.in, and
Mm.
anybody can just place an order, and then
Get your
both would
paperback.
fulfill that. Hmm.
Okay, perfect. And so, coming back to what got you inclined towards this, like what inspired you to write?
Yes. So just sometimes, like I was telling, right, that there was a dilemma whether to tell the truth, whether to not tell the truth. Well, should my
Mm.
child, because we also have a relative in our family from my husband's side, who has an adoptive child, and she said that once, just to avoid these social, questions, somebody asked, "Where was your child born?" And she said they're in the Guwahati General Hospital.
Mm.
And the child gave a, bizarre, a weird look, the mother. And after the guest left, the child said, "Why did you lie? Or have you been lying to me?"
Mm.
So, the child is always hearing what you're
Mm.
saying.
Mm.
So I just wanted my message to go out loud in a very sensitive way, so that neighbors should not come and tell my child tomorrow, tomorrow, like, there's a very common, jokes that we keep sharing, and that people have picked you up from the garbage bin. Your
Between
parents have picked you up
siblings.
from the garbage bin, between siblings. And it's a very sensitive thing. I've covered that in my book towards the end as well, because there is an author's notes to parents, that is something. And as you also are, kind of, you have two children, you are seeing siblings growing up together.
Mm.
That's my honest request. Don't encourage these jokes.
Mm.
They do
No,
try to sensitize
they
them,
do. They do.
because we do not, even we used to, say such things when we were younger. We did not realize, but now we realize that,
Mm.
children literally are dropped in garbage bins, they're literally picked up from there. But
Mm.
it does not mean they're loved less.
Mm.
So, I do not want my daughter to understand some other story from the society, because
Mm.
society also will spin their own story.
Mm.
Okay, so that's why I wanted the story to come from me. And because I did not know that how to tell. We keep telling her, although, that you are a heart baby, you've come from mama's heart, and you were there, in Kolkata before you met us. We keep telling her, but then there is also, we don't know, the child is growing up every single day. So today
Correct.
what she's hearing as a story, tomorrow she might feel that, "Oh, I thought it was a fairy tale, I did
Mm.
not know you were serious about
Mm.
it," right?
Mm. Mm.
And she might still feel deceived. So I wanted it to be printed and written in such a way that even I cannot go back to my on my words, I cannot change my decision, because there's so many times adoptive parents feel emotional, and they feel, I wish, I did not have to explain to the world that, I have adopted, or I wish I did not have to tell her a different
Again and
story.
again. Yes.
Yeah, I wish we were not different. We were like just any other parent. Whose
Mm.
stories were same. Why is our
Mm.
story different? It's so difficult. I
Mm.
wish, because unknowingly also will say, "Hey, you are doing this just like your father, just like your mother." Huh,
Yes.
you have got this habit from your father. You've got this habit. We will also keep telling that unconsciously, not realizing that she does not share our genes. So at times, we would also think that whether to tell the truth, and just like our relative, to avoid all these discussions, conversation, sometimes you would say, "No, no, no, I stopped breastfeeding her." "You don't breastfeed
Mm.
her?" "No, I stopped breastfeeding her."
Mm.
Instead of telling that, "No, I have never breastfed her,"
Mm.
right? So instead of
So
telling
it's an
that, you take
easier
the
answer.
easy
Mm.
route sometimes. But as the child grows, the child will hear the parents not being stable, not being
Mm.
consistent in the stories. There'll be trust issues. And
Mm.
one very important thing about adoptive children is that they have the trauma. This is not something I've covered in the book because the book is a children's book. It's
Mm.
for 7 to 14 years. All the parents can read it because, but it's for children because from childhood they would know that there are children who've come to their parents
Just
in a
like them.
different way and
Mm.
just like them, and they would be more inclusive. But yeah, so I have kind of not covered all these, too much into details, but I'm just telling you that these children, they have a lot of trauma. They do not like, because they, when they're in the womb, they are hearing certain sounds, they're,
Yes.
sensing certain tastes, and
Mm.
they know the presence, the touch of their mother.
Mm.
Okay, let's be honest.
Mm.
And once they are born, that the mother is not there, and there are
Mm.
other people, their cells, each of their cells in their body knows the loss. They have
Correct.
faced grief the day they were born,
Yeah, through their skin.
right?
Yeah.
They have, so they are a little so I don't know how my child will be, but there are many adoptive children, who have grown up and who have said that I always knew there was something missing. I always knew, there's something different about me, but I could not put a finger on that, understand what exactly was that.
Mm.
So it's very important to tell them the story from day one, in a
Mm.
very honest way, in a very child appropriate way,
Yeah, I
not
agree.
to hurt them, but so that they know, and also to, uh, kind of take care of that grief, or that trauma which is inbuilt, which is there in their
I think
subconscious.
I guess justify that the emotions that you felt are true. I think a big part of that is like you said, not denial but acceptance. When we accept and the child accepts, then the society will also accept it. But I think it's important that we accept first. We accept that these emotions are true.
Yes, yes. So, yeah, so that the trauma of the adoptive children is something that we should not, kind of forget. And we should be very, very sensitive towards that. And also towards their birth mother, never to talk disrespectfully, because
Yes.
there are many people who told me that, once was she abandoned? Once she
Hmm.
comes to know that she was abandoned, she'll hate her birth parents.
Hmm.
No.
Hmm.
So that's
Hmm.
how, it's easy for Indians to tell the story of Krishna, and I
Hmm.
have covered that also in my book, that
I had that
it's
story
not that
going on in my mind that you resemble
that
that so much.
it's not that Devaki did not love Krishna. They
Yeah.
loved him so much that they wanted to protect him, and that's where they kind of put him in a safe custody of another set
Yes.
of parents. So yes,
Hmm.
they have two different sets of parents. That's the truth of their life.
Hmm.
But yes, let's be honest, they have faced trauma. Uh, just the day they were born, like, or maybe a few months when they were very, very young. And if they need counseling in later part, we should give them that space. We should
Hmm.
hear that out.
Hmm.
And I have heard stories from other adoptive parents who children have grown up and said that, I want to draw my mother's face. Mother means birth mother, but I can just draw a circle and I don't know what to put inside.
Oh my God.
And imagine if my daughter comes and tells that to me, that I want to draw my mother's face, but I don't know what to put inside. How much of a heartbreak that I would have. I would have a heartbreak. But if my daughter is able to say that to me, without even thinking twice, that's the day, I would have succeeded in kind of in my parenting journey, because my child feels that I am a safe person to share this deepest fear, this deepest grief in her mind, which is in the subconscious, which she's expressing.
I so
So yes,
connect
it
with that. That is like the perfect way to sum it up is I think you've done something right in the parenting journey when the children old enough are able to open up with their deepest fears. That's so true.
So yes, so the book covers, coming back to the book, it covers, my daughter's journey from, but I have changed the name. Hia is not my daughter's name. Her name is Riddhi, but I changed it, so that she does not sue me later, that you have not taken my consent. We are very, in this age, we are very cognizant about children's consent
It
in
is. Oh
everything.
my God. Over here, they ask the kids, should I change your nappy? So there's all, like, even in Australia, it's a lot about consent, right from very young babies. I don't know if that's been implemented in India, but even before changing a nappy, apparently you should be asking the child, I'm going to change your nappy. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Like, just being very conscious and making them aware that you're still going to touch their body even though you're parents.
But will they say okay ever?
No, but I think they understand. And so, for example, I've always been a very conscious parent right from the start.
Yes.
And that is something I would do is, let's go and change the nappy. So you're not really asking for consent, but I guess it's about how you
Informing,
say it.
yeah.
So if I would take the baby, I'd say, we're going for nappy changing. So the child knows I'm going to do that. So it's not about asking
Exactly.
because, hey,
Exactly.
I'm going to change your nappy. It's not a yes or no, but it's more of a
Yes.
conversation that you're having, but you mentally prepared them.
Yes, because my daughter has become very opinionated these days, and she would also pick her nappy. I mean, all of these are same, right? But from the rack, she will say, take this and put. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a different story. But
All right,
yeah,
coming
so
back to
I
your
think
book, from all of this, what would you say is your message that you wanted to send out through the book?
yes. So the message I kind of summed it up in my conversation only that adoption is just another way of becoming parents. And adoptive children, it's not that they are the children, the child that's adopted. That's the part of that is yes, that's a truth of that person's life, but that's not their identity. They have so many other things like I said, she's opinionated. She loves music. She loves to dance. She loves outdoors. So and for society also to be a little conscious before they just blurt out things like okay, she's not your own, or no, why didn't you have your own child, and things like that, to understand that she is our own child. And especially in India, when you are celebrating Janmashtami with such a big pomp and show, you should understand the core of Krishna's birth, right? And we in Indian society, I think we should be the most sensitive
Yes,
because yes,
we
our
have
even
similar
our
stories. Yes,
scriptures,
in our
our
traditions.
scriptures tell the story. And also another important thing is when you look at a child that's adopted, don't always think about adoption. Think, ask normal things like you would ask another parent or another child. Like, does she like ice cream? Does she like TV? Or something like that. So just to build a very inclusive kind of a place where we can just live freely. We can talk about our story without being judged.
Yes.
Many things in the story that I have written is not true. It's a work of fiction.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
fiction. Yeah.
It is a fiction, but I try to cover that, once a child comes home, what are the things that, the adjustments that the child and the parent has to do, plus, how society perceives it, and, how finally, the child comes and mingles with the society and continues with the normal life. And then there is a note to parents in the end on typical things that I covered, that, and also things like that. Okay, you got this child from where? From a temple or from a dustbin? I mean, don't ask this. Kara is the place. Do your Google, and
Do your
understand how
research.
adoption is
Yeah.
done, your research. So don't just ask questions, because it might be hurtful when you ask that. Oh, was she there in a temple or on the side of the road? And because a one and a half year old child is able to understand whatever you're telling, and if not conscious, but again, that subconscious, which is already carrying a lot of baggage, grief, is getting
Triggered
heavier
each
with
time.
that. It is getting triggered.
Yes,
We don't
it's
know
getting
how,
triggered
but then
each
that's
time.
how human body works, right? So that's the kind of message. And the book is full of illustrations which Sandeep
Yeah,
kind
that
of
is what I was
did
gonna ask.
himself.
Sandeep has also done illustrations. Like, when are you guys parenting? One is writing, one is illustrating.
Af- After the child is asleep, that's from 9 in the night, 9 p.m. till we stretched, we till
Amazing
11, 12 in
collaborative
the night.
effort. So, like, she will really relish the book when she grows up. I can understand. It's like my mom and dad have written and illustrated the book. I mean, that's such a proud feeling for her as well. I'm definitely going to order myself a copy. You've made me very excited. If I get a paperback, that'd be even better. But otherwise, I'll definitely order the Kindle. But yeah, thank you for sharing your story today, Som. And thank you for telling us all everything from your entire story and being so open to sharing. I know there's a lot of taboo in society in very many different aspects of, you're doomed if you do and if you're doomed if you don't kind of a way. So every story I think is special, and everybody, whoever becomes a parent, no matter what their journey is, I think it's always a special journey. So it was lovely chatting with you. I know we've had a very long conversation today.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did you enjoy? Did you enjoy talking and
Yes,
reliving
yes,
all the
I really
moments?
loved it. And I would want to listen to, do you have your story uploaded in your podcast somewhere?
Yes, so I do episodes. So that's why I said this is the first video one. I also started it in the depths of my own depression of postpartum, I think, where I just wanted a voice to talk, and I thought, okay, I'll just start a podcast. So it was a faceless podcast until today. So today is the first video one that we're doing. But yeah,
Yes.
you can actually access the
So
podcast and wherever you
I
get your
will, and thanks
podcast.
for bringing this topic of postpartum. I know we are probably, we have wrapped up, but then there's one important point I wanted to tell, and this is for adoptive parents. Postpartum in adoption is also a fact, so don't feel guilty about it. I felt guilty, you know why, and that's something that probably haven't covered in the book, but then I used to feel I have not even birthed her. I have not even had any hormonal changes. I have, because I know how difficult it is to try to conceive also. So the journey of being pregnant for 9 months and then the labor, okay, I can imagine how difficult it would be. And I
Yeah.
haven't done an iota of anything. And
Hmm.
I can't even blame that, oh, my stitches are hurting or my hormones are disbalanced because of such and such medicine. So nothing physical happened to me. I'm not breastfeeding the child. I'm not doing anything. But still, I'm feeling bad. So why am I feeling bad? I'm not a good human being. I have got things easy. I have got things. So I have to do much more to prove myself to be a mother. So that's what, I was. And how can adoptive parents have postpartum? Because it's all hormonal, right? It's all triggered because, you go through this estrogen, progesterone, and blah, blah, all of that, and your injections and your hospitalization. And I have not taken that iota of pain. I have not done anything. Am I even, how am I even telling that I am feeling sad about it? I should
Yes.
be grateful. And I wanted to do more and more and more. And then I didn't trust anybody with my daughter. I even, when she was sleeping, I used to observe her. As soon as she's got up, I have made, like, I overdid a lot of things. So yesterday I was
Obsessed.
just telling my mother that I could have just relaxed a little bit, because now I'm so relaxed. If my daughter is not eating one meal, I'm fine. Okay, next time you will eat it.
And I think it's
Yeah.
just our rush to do all the right things. I mean, the heart's always in the right place, but sometimes we're not able to keep up with so much right that we want to do.
And social conditioning as well, right? Because you keep hearing that, okay, yeah, becoming a mother is a big deal because the major part of it's birthing, and it's really a big deal. I'm not kind of undermining it. That's why I thank my daughter's birth parents, birth mother especially, every day. But then not going through that journey has an impact on adoptive mother's mind, that I have not done that, so I have to compensate for that by doing a lot more. But then you cannot do that, right? You can do only, you just have 24 hours in the day. You need to sleep in that time. You cannot, mess up with your routine.
So my only advice to you will be, after listening to it, when we are trying to change the society, when you want the society to change the perspective, you need to change the perspective to yourself as well, and
Yes,
not think
yes,
about that I
yes,
did not birth her. When you
yes,
think that, that's why I said I think we need to first forgive ourselves. And if we are
yes.
telling the story to ourselves correct, then people will view the story that we tell ourselves.
Exactly. And that's another reason of this writing the book. Because, once you start writing, and I went to therapies, and my therapist told that start writing. And then I started writing. And then when I started writing the story and I started writing the emotions, I started writing the nervousness, because even we go through a lot of things of this medical tests and police verification and a lot of paperwork. And then you go somewhere, you meet a child that you don't know, and then
Yeah.
you try to bond, and you are all of a sudden you're a parent. Like yesterday you were not a parent, and today suddenly you're a parent of an 11-month-old.
Yeah.
So there are so many things that even we have done, and
Yeah.
that is our journey. So I started documenting our journey, and then I kind of, when I started writing the book for the children, I
You
kind of,
already had the
made
script.
subdued. I had the script, so
Yeah.
I kind of framed it in a way that it will be simple and sweet, and children also will be able
Beautiful.
to understand it.
Beautiful. So, is there going to be another book coming up after this?
Yes, yes. I think I'll
Yes.
write another one, if not on the same topic, but I think I would like to write children's book. It's so much fun because you have to simplify things. And
Yeah.
because, when we write things in a very complex way. The sentences are, 4 line
Mm.
sentences, and it's so
Mm.
complex. But then when you again read it as a child, and you realize that it's so complex, I have to simplify it. And once
Simplify.
you simplify the sentences and you keep writing, things in your head which is entangled also,
All
starts
unravel.
opening up, unraveling. Exactly. So yes, I think I found a lot of joy in writing, and I would write few more children books in future.
Hopefully. Thank you so much. I think I'm going to wrap up there. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so much for sharing the story through the book as well. Yeah, I'll put a link as well when this is published for people to go and download your Kindle version and hopefully get your paperback version as well. But
Sure.
yeah, I think moms have to take out time for themselves, whether it's for writing a
Mm.
book or doing something else. I think having that me time, I guess, is also one of the things that we want listeners to understand is your writing the book was also part of you having that me time away from being a mother and being a wife and really recouping that energy back, right? So I think that's also very, very important. So yeah,
Right.
thanks for having a chat with me. I wish you great success with your book and keep publishing more. And yeah, let's keep in touch.
Thanks, Monmon, and it was really a pleasure talking to you after so many years. Yeah, I hope we chat even if we're not recording what we are talking.
Oh,
We should, yeah, we
yes,
should
of
sometimes,
course. We
just
should
pick up a
always.
phone and just,
That's it.
yeah,
That's you have my number.
whenever we feel our baby blues, because we both have children who are toddlers. So, yeah, let's be real with each other. I think that's how we can.
Of course. तो दोस्तों ये था आज का एपिसोड एंड आई होप यू enjoyed and learned from it, from the conversations as much as I did. I really want to go back and thank my friend Som again for sharing her lovely story and for writing a book to share the story and share the story of many others like her and like Riddhi. And we hope to bring you more inspiring stories from everyday parenting journeys because I think everybody is doing a superhero job. So, thank you. Stay tuned. Please grab your copy of Hia's Homecoming on Amazon. It's available as an ebook at the moment, and she's hoping to get that on paperback soon. So, I'm definitely going to grab myself a copy. But until next time, namaste and good day.